The stars looked different from the bridge of the UES horizon. Commander Lisa Wright stared at the view screen, her hands clasped behind her back. After centuries of dreaming, humanity had finally reached the stars. The year was 2157, and Earth had just developed, working faster than light travel. "Commander, the alien ship is approaching," said Jack Bennett from his communication station. His voice was steady, but his eyes showed excitement. "Thank you, Lieutenant," Lisa said. "Remember, everyone, this is a historic moment. The first official contact between humanity and the Galactic Concordat." The crew nodded. They had trained for this moment for years, but nothing could truly prepare them. The alien ship was 5 times larger than the horizon and gleamed like polished silver. "They're hailing us," Jack reported. "On screen," Lisa ordered. The view screen flickered, and an alien face appeared. The being had pale blue skin, large black eyes, and no visible nose. Its mouth was small and lipless. "Greetings, humans. I am High Emissary Xarbok of the Galactic Concordat. We welcome you to the greater community of spacefaring species." Lisa stepped forward. "Thank you, High Emissary. I am Commander Lisa Wright of the United Earth Space Force. We are honored to meet you." The alien's mouth twitched in what might have been a smile. "Your species has achieved much in a short time. We have been watching your development with interest." Something in the way Xarbok said interest made Lisa's neck hairs stand up. But she kept her diplomatic smile. "We invite you aboard our vessel for formal talks," Xarbok continued. "We have much to share about your place in the galactic order." 2 hours later, Lisa sat at a large oval table with her team. Dr. Alan Foster, Earth's top xenobiologist, whispered observations about the 5 different alien species present. Captain Ben Harris, her security chief, kept his hand close to his sidearm. Xarbok spoke at length about the Concordat's 5,000-year history of peaceful guidance for developing species. "The treaty we offer is standard for all new species," Xarbok explained. "You will receive protection, technology, and a designated trade sector. In return, you will follow Concordat regulations and accept our advisory council on your homeworld." While Xarbok spoke, Jack Bennett frowned at his tablet. He leaned close to Lisa. "Commander, I'm picking up encrypted transmissions between their ships. Our AI is translating bits and pieces. And," Lisa whispered, "it doesn't match what they're telling us. They're discussing resource extraction rights on Earth and behavioral modification programs for humans." Lisa kept her face neutral as anger built inside her. "Keep monitoring." Xarbok slid a document across the table. "This treaty will ensure humanity's smooth integration into the galactic community." Lisa scanned the document. The language was friendly, but the terms were clear. Earth would essentially become a protected colony with limited rights. "High Emissary, this treaty seems to place significant limitations on human autonomy," Lisa said carefully. Xarbok's black eyes blinked slowly. "These are necessary guidelines. Your species is very young. Like children, you need guidance." Jack suddenly stood up. "Commander, I have a complete translation of their ship-to-ship communications." He looked directly at Xarbok. "They plan to establish control of our resources within 5 years and implement compliance measures if we resist." The room went silent. Xarbok's blue skin darkened. "You misunderstand diplomatic security protocols," Xarbok said smoothly, "and you should not possess translation capabilities for our secure channels." Lisa stood up. "Were we misunderstanding when your message called humans barely sentient primitives who need to be managed before they become troublesome?" "Commander Wright," Xarbok said with a cold voice, "your species' aggression is well documented. This is precisely why guidance is necessary." Lisa gathered the treaty papers and handed them back. "Earth will not sign away its freedom, no matter how it's packaged." "You are making a grave mistake," Xarbok warned. "No species rejects Concordat protection." "Then we'll be the first," Lisa said. She nodded to her team. "We're leaving." As they walked out, Starbuck called after them. You will reconsider when you understand the consequences. Back on the horizon, Lisa stared at the stars again. Set course for Earth, maximum speed, she ordered. We need to prepare our people. I think we just made humanity's first enemy in space. 6 months had passed since the meeting with the Concordat. Earth had changed. Military bases now covered the moon. Defense platforms orbited Mars. Every day, new warships left Earth's shipyards. Admiral Daniel Powell stood at the window of his office on Luna Base. At 55, his hair was gray at the temples, but his eyes remained sharp. Earth hung in the black sky, beautiful and blue. He had sworn to keep it that way. Admiral, Dr. Martinez is here, said his assistant through the intercom. Send her in. Dr. Olivia Martinez walked in carrying a tablet. Her lab coat was wrinkled, and dark circles sat under her eyes. She hadn't slept much lately. None of them had. Admiral, we did it, she said, her face bright with excitement. The new FTL drive works. It's faster and more efficient than anything the Concordat has, based on the data we gathered from their ships. Daniel nodded. Good work, Doctor. How soon can we install it in our fleet? Production starts next week. The first ships can be fitted within a month. A knock at the door interrupted them. Lieutenant Ryan Garcia entered, his face grim. Sir, they're back. A Concordat fleet just appeared at the edge of our solar system, 3 times bigger than before. Daniel's jaw tightened. They didn't wait long. Are they broadcasting? Yes, sir. System-wide on all channels. Put it on the main screen. The wall screen lit up. High Emissary, Starbuck's blue face filled the display. People of Earth, Starbuck said, your leaders have made a dangerous mistake. The Concordat's offer of protection was generous. Your rejection is unprecedented and unacceptable. Daniel and Olivia exchanged glances. We have arrived with a pacification fleet. Starbuck continued. You have 2 Earth days to reconsider. Sign our treaty, or we will demonstrate why no species defies the Concordat. This is not negotiable. The screen went black. They're staying just outside Mars orbit, Ryan said. 27 ships, heavily armed. Daniel turned to Olivia. How many ships have the new drive? Just the test vessel, sir. The Eagle. It'll have to do. Daniel pressed a button on his desk. This is Admiral Powell. I need an emergency session of the United Earth Parliament. Now. 4 hours later, Daniel stood before the Parliament in Geneva. Representatives from every nation on Earth filled the chamber. Screens showed the Concordat fleet, hanging in space like a sword over humanity's head. Ladies and gentlemen, Daniel said, you've all heard the Concordat's ultimatum. Our intelligence suggests their weapons can target any point on Earth from their current position. They could destroy our major cities within minutes. The chamber erupted in fearful murmurs. But, Daniel continued, Dr. Martinez has given us an advantage they don't know about. Our new drive technology outperforms theirs. And more importantly, we've learned that despite their advanced technology, the Concordat has not fought a real war in thousands of years. They'd forgotten what real conflict means. President Maria Sanchez stood up. Admiral, are you suggesting we fight rather than negotiate? Madam President, their idea of negotiation is our complete surrender. They want Earth as a resource colony. We would lose everything that makes us human. Silence fell over the room. President Sanchez looked at the faces around her, then at the images of the alien fleet. I propose a vote, she said quietly. Do we submit to the Concordat, or do we fight for our freedom? The vote took only 5 minutes. Despite the fear, despite knowing they were outgunned, the result was unanimous. President Sanchez nodded to Lieutenant Garcia. Send our answer. Ryan stepped up to the communications array. His voice steady, he broadcast humanity's response to the waiting Concordat fleet. High Emissary Starbuck, this is Lieutenant Ryan Garcia of the United Earth Space Force. I speak for all humanity. We have considered your offer and reached our decision. He paused, looking at the determined faces around him. Earth rejects your terms. We would rather die on our feet than live on our knees. We choose war. As the message traveled across space, Admiral Powell whispered to Dr. Martinez, "Now we show them what humanity does best." Starbuck slammed his fist on the command table. The human response played again on the screen. "We choose war." No species had ever said those words to the Concordat before. "Deploy the blockade as planned," he ordered. "Show these primitives our power." Aboard the UES Eagle, Colonel Samantha Kelly checked her squad one last time. 12 small attack ships, each with a crew of 3, now equipped with Dr. Martinez's new FTL drives. They were humanity's first strike force. "All systems green, Colonel," reported her pilot, Jeff Mason. His young face was tense but determined. "The Concordat expects a frontal defense," Samantha said to her team over the comm. "They don't know about our new drives. They don't know we can jump past their blockade. We hit them from behind, take out their command ships, and jump away. Quick and clean." She took a deep breath. "This is our first punch. Make it count." "Eagle to command," she radioed. "Strike force ready for Operation Sucker Punch." Admiral Powell's voice came through. "You're clear to engage, Colonel. Good hunting." Samantha nodded to Jeff. "Jump." The Eagle vanished from Earth space. For a moment, there was only the swirling darkness of FTL travel. Then suddenly, they reappeared, behind the Concordat fleet. "We're in position," Jeff said, his voice steady. "They haven't detected us yet." On her tactical display, Samantha saw the other 11 ships arrive. Perfect formation. All ships, weapons hot. Target their command vessels. Fire at will. The small human ships moved fast, their new engines giving them speed the Concordat couldn't match. Missiles streaked across space. The first explosions took the aliens completely by surprise. 3 of their largest ships erupted in flame before they even turned their weapons. "What is happening?" Starbuck shouted as his ship shook. "Where are they coming from?" "They're behind us," his tactical officer replied, confusion in his voice. "They just appeared there. Our sensors didn't detect any approach." "Impossible," Starbuck hissed. "No species has stealth jump technology." On the Eagle, Samantha watched as the Concordat ships tried to reposition. Their movements were slow, predictable. They turned in unison, following standard formations found in the database Commander Wright had obtained during first contact. "They're fighting by the book," she said to Jeff. "A very old book." The human ships darted in and out, never staying still. They attacked from multiple angles, never following a pattern. 2 human vessels were hit, but the pilots ejected safely. "Look at their firing patterns," Jeff said. "They're always targeting where we were, not where we're going." Samantha realized what she was seeing. They'd forgotten. "Forgotten what?" Jeff asked. "How to really fight. Their weapons are advanced, but their tactics are thousands of years old. They haven't had a real enemy in so long, they've forgotten what war is really like." After 20 minutes, 3 Concordat command ships were destroyed. 4 more were heavily damaged. The human strike force had lost only 2 ships and no lives. "Eagle to all ships," Samantha ordered. "Mission accomplished. Jump to rendezvous point." As quickly as they had appeared, the human ships vanished. On his damaged flagship, Starbuck stared at the empty space where the enemy had been. "They attacked, caused significant damage, and retreated," his second-in-command said, sounding confused. "Why didn't they press their advantage?" Starbuck had no answer. The humans weren't fighting like any species the Concordat had encountered before. They didn't follow the proper rules of engagement. They were unpredictable, adaptable. He sent an urgent message to Concordat High Command. "The human anomaly is more dangerous than anticipated. Request reinforcements immediately." Back at Earth, Samantha's team was greeted with cheers as they landed. Admiral Powell waited for her on the hangar deck. First blood to humanity, Colonel, he said, shaking her hand. What's your assessment? Samantha smiled grimly. Sir, I think we've been preparing for war for our entire history. They haven't had to fight for real in millennia. And that might just give us a chance. News of the successful first strike spread across Earth. For the first time since the Concordat arrived, people began to hope. Starbuck slammed his fist on the command table. The human response played again on the screen. We choose war. No species had ever said those words to the Concordat before. Deploy the blockade as planned, he ordered. Show these primitives our power. Aboard the UES Eagle, Colonel Samantha Kelly checked her squad one last time. 12 small attack ships, each with a crew of 3, now equipped with Dr. Martinez's new FTL drives. They were humanity's first strike force. All systems green, Colonel, reported her pilot, Jeff Mason. His young face was tense but determined. The Concordat expects a frontal defense, Samantha said to her team over the comm. They don't know about our new drives. They don't know we can jump past their blockade. We hit them from behind, take out their command ships, and jump away. Quick and clean. She took a deep breath. This is our first punch. Make it count. Eagle to command, she radioed. Strike force ready for Operation Sucker Punch. Admiral Powell's voice came through. You're clear to engage, Colonel. Good hunting. Samantha nodded to Jeff. Jump. The Eagle vanished from Earth space. For a moment, there was only the swirling darkness of FTL travel. Then suddenly, they reappeared, behind the Concordat fleet. We're in position, Jeff said, his voice steady. They haven't detected us yet. On her tactical display, Samantha saw the other 11 ships arrive. Perfect formation. All ships, weapons hot, target their command vessels. Fire at will. The small human ships moved fast, their new engines giving them speed the Concordat couldn't match. Missiles streaked across space. The first explosions took the aliens completely by surprise. 3 of their largest ships erupted in flame before they even turned their weapons. What is happening? Starbuck shouted as his ship shook. Where are they coming from? They're behind us, his tactical officer replied, confusion in his voice. They just appeared there. Our sensors didn't detect any approach. Impossible. Starbuck hissed. No species has stealth jump technology. On the Eagle, Samantha watched as the Concordat ships tried to reposition. Their movements were slow, predictable. They turned in unison, following standard formations found in the database Commander Wright had obtained during first contact. They're fighting by the book, she said to Jeff. A very old book. The human ships darted in and out, never staying still. They attacked from multiple angles, never following a pattern. 2 human vessels were hit, but the pilots ejected safely. Look at their firing patterns, Jeff said. They're always targeting where we were, not where we're going. Samantha realized what she was seeing. They've forgotten. Forgotten what? Jeff asked. How to really fight. Their weapons are advanced, but their tactics are thousands of years old. They haven't had a real enemy in so long. They'd forgotten what war is really like. After 20 minutes, 3 Concordat command ships were destroyed. 4 more were heavily damaged. The human strike force had lost only 2 ships and no lives. Eagle to all ships, Samantha ordered. Mission accomplished. Jump to rendezvous point. As quickly as they had appeared, the human ships vanished. On his damaged flagship, Starbuck stared at the empty space where the enemy had been. They attacked, caused significant damage, and retreated, his second-in-command said, sounding confused. Why didn't they press their advantage? Starbuck had no answer. The humans weren't fighting like any species the Concordat had encountered before. They didn't follow the proper rules of engagement. They were unpredictable, adaptable. He sent an urgent message to Concordat High Command. The human anomaly is more dangerous than anticipated. Request reinforcements immediately. Back at Earth, Samantha's team was greeted with cheers as they landed. Admiral Powell waited for her on the hangar deck. "First blood to humanity, Colonel," he said, shaking her hand. "What's your assessment?" Samantha smiled grimly. "Sir, I think we've been preparing for war for our entire history. They haven't had to fight for real in millennia. And that might just give us a chance." News of the successful first strike spread across Earth. For the first time since the Concordat arrived, people began to hope. 2 years had passed since Earth declared war against the Concordat. What began as defense had changed to something new: liberation. Chief Engineer Peter Morris stood in his workshop on the UES Defiance, Earth's newest battleship. Tools and alien tech parts covered every surface. At 35, Peter had a gift for taking things apart and putting them back together better than before. "I think I've got it," he said to Admiral Powell, who had come to check on his progress. Peter held up what looked like a small silver cube. "This is the heart of their communication system. I've rewired it to work with our tech." Admiral Powell nodded, impressed. "How soon can we mass-produce these?" "A week, maybe less. With these, we can listen to all Concordat transmissions, and they won't even know." "Good work, Morris." The Admiral looked at the star map on the wall. A third of it was now marked in green, areas where human forces had pushed back the Concordat. It's time for the next phase. On the bridge of the UES Liberty, Major Alicia Washington prepared her Special Forces team. Her dark hair was cut short, and a scar ran across her left cheek, a reminder of a close call 6 months ago. "Our target is Trelax Prime," she explained, pointing to a blue planet on the display. "The Trelaxians have been under Concordat control for over 200 years. According to our intelligence, they're natural engineers with 6-fingered hands perfect for detailed work." "And we're going to free them?" asked Sergeant Kyle Rivera. Alicia nodded. "Ambassador Howard has made contact with their resistance. They're ready to rise up. But they need our help." She looked at each member of her team. "This isn't just about Earth anymore. The Concordat has enslaved dozens of species. If we free them, we gain allies." The mission began at what the Trelaxians called low light, the dim period between their twin suns setting and rising. Alicia's team slipped past Concordat patrols using the stealth technology Peter Morris had developed. The Trelaxian resistance members looked like tall, thin humans with silver skin and large eyes. Their leader, Zex, embraced Alicia with all 4 of his arms. "We feared no one would ever come," he said in halting English, learned from secret broadcasts. "The Concordat told us we were alone in opposing them." "You're not alone anymore," Alicia promised. Together, they struck the main Concordat base on Trelax Prime. The human special forces provided the firepower, while the Trelaxians used their knowledge of the facility to guide them through secret passages. When it was over, the Concordat governor was captured, and the planet declared free. News of the Trelaxian liberation spread quickly. Within weeks, 5 other subjugated species reached out to Earth. The rebellion was growing. Back on Earth, scientists Victoria Barnes and Frank Collins worked day and night on a new project: AI battle systems that could predict Concordat tactics. Their movements follow mathematical patterns, Victoria explained during a briefing. They'd been fighting the same way for thousands of years. Our AI can predict what they'll do before they do it. The AI system, named HFY, was installed on all Earth ships. Now human vessels could anticipate Concordat maneuvers and counter them before they happened. In Earth's broadcast center, a team worked around the clock sending messages throughout Concordat space. They showed footage of successful rebellions, of freed planets, of species working together against their former masters. The Concordat tried to block these transmissions, but thanks to Peter Morris's technology, the messages got through. On Concordat worlds, beings who had never questioned their rulers began to look up at the night sky and wonder. Some even whispered the word that was spreading across the galaxy: freedom. In a secret meeting on Earth, Admiral Powell met with representatives from 7 alien species, including Zex of the Trilaxians. "The Concordat has ruled through fear and lies," Powell said. "They told each of us we were alone. But look around this room. We are not alone. Together, we can end their dominion." Zex stood, his silver skin gleaming under the lights. "For 2 centuries, my people built their ships, their weapons, their cities. Now we will build our own future, with Earth as our ally." For the first time in its long history, the Galactic Concordat faced not just a single rebellious species, but a growing alliance of determined peoples. The empire that had never known defeat began to crumble. 3 years into the war, the Concordat no longer seemed invincible. Their once unified front had begun to crack. Admiral Daniel Powell stood on the bridge of the UES Defiance, watching as his fleet prepared for the next mission. "The Hornet strategy is working," he told his officers. "Hit-and-run attacks on their supply lines are causing chaos throughout their territory." Lieutenant Ryan Garcia, now promoted to commander, nodded in agreement. Their military was designed for quick victories, not extended conflicts. They're running low on resources. The view screen showed the current target, a Concordat supply depot near the Zerlian homeworld. The Zerlians were one of the oldest species in the Concordat and had served as their enforcers for centuries. "Sir," the communications officer called out, "we're receiving a distress signal from the Zerlian homeworld. It's not directed at us specifically. They're broadcasting on all frequencies." Powell frowned. "Put it through." The screen showed a Zerlian, tall and gray-skinned with 4 black eyes. Smoke filled the background and distant explosions could be heard. "This is High Commander Vorex of Zerlia. The Concordat has begun orbital bombardment of our major cities. They claim we have been disloyal. Millions of civilians are at risk. We request assistance from any vessels in range." The bridge fell silent. "It's a trap," Commander Jason Murphy suggested. "The Zerlians have been the Concordat's loyal soldiers for thousands of years." Powell studied the screen. Maybe, or maybe the Concordat is starting to turn on its own. He made a quick decision. "Commander Murphy, take your battle group to Zerlia. Verify the situation. If the distress call is genuine, render assistance." Murphy nodded. "Yes, sir." 24 hours later, Murphy's ships arrived at Zerlia. What they found shocked even veteran soldiers. 3 Concordat destroyers were firing on the planet's cities from orbit. Millions of civilians were fleeing. "This is Commander Jason Murphy of Earth Forces," he broadcast to the Concordat ships. "Cease fire on civilian targets immediately." The Concordat commander responded with contempt. "This is not your concern, human. The Zerlians have failed in their duties. The High Council has ordered their punishment." Murphy looked at his tactical display. His 6 ships against 3 larger Concordat vessels. Not good odds, but he couldn't just watch a genocide happen. "All ships, attack pattern Delta," he ordered. "Focus fire on their weapons systems. Try to disable, not destroy." The battle was fierce. 2 human ships were badly damaged, but Murphy's forces managed to drive the Concordat destroyers away from the planet. On the Zerlian surface, High Commander Vorex met with Murphy. The Zerlians' usually stern face showed shock and gratitude. "For centuries, we served the Concordat faithfully," Vorex explained. "When rumors of human victories reached us, some of our people began to question. The Concordat demanded we purge these disloyal elements. When we refused to kill our own citizens, they decided to make an example of us." Murphy offered his hand in the human gesture of friendship. "Earth stands against such tyranny." Vorex took his hand with 3-fingered grip. "Then from this day forward, Zerlia stands with Earth." News of the Zerlian defection spread like wildfire through Concordat space. Their most loyal enforcers had turned against them. Meanwhile, on Earth, Dr. Martinez unveiled her newest creation to Admiral Powell. "We call it Project Thunderclap," she explained, showing him a small device. "It emits a pulse that temporarily disables Concordat ships without destroying them." Powell picked up the device. "You mean we can capture their vessels intact?" Exactly. No more needless deaths. The Admiral smiled. This could change everything. In the Concordat Council chambers, chaos reigned. Reports of defeats, defections, and resource shortages poured in from across their territory. This cannot continue, the High Counselor declared. Zarbuk's failure to contain the human threat has led to this disaster. Zarbuk, once the proud emissary, now stood before his peers in disgrace. The humans fight like no species we have ever encountered. They adapt. They improvise. Enough excuses. The High Counselor interrupted. You are relieved of your authority. The time has come for more permanent solutions. As Karbach was led away, he realized something that filled him with that strange new sensation. Fear. For the first time in 50,000 years, the Concordat was fighting for its very survival. 4 years had passed since Earth chose war. What began as one planet's stand against alien domination had grown into something greater. Representatives from 27 formerly subjugated species gathered in the Great Hall in Geneva. The air buzzed with different languages, translated by devices Peter Morris had developed from Concordat technology. General Rebecca Anderson stood at the center of the hall. At 50, she had risen through the ranks to become Earth's top military strategist. Her calm presence gave confidence to those around her. Today, we formalize what we have already become in practice, she announced to the gathered delegates. The Galactic Freedom Alliance is now official. Cheers and various alien sounds of approval filled the room. On the wall behind Rebecca, a map showed the current state of the galaxy. Blue represented Concordat territory, now reduced to less than 60% of its former size. Green showed the growing Alliance space. United, we have accomplished what none of us could do alone, Rebecca continued. But our work is not finished. The Concordat still holds many worlds in bondage. Ambassador Eric Howard stepped forward. His diplomatic skills had convinced many species to join the Alliance. Our next goal must be to offer peace, he suggested. Not every victory requires bloodshed. Dr. William Daniels nodded in agreement. The Concordat leadership is experiencing fear for the first time in their history. They may be ready to negotiate. The meeting continued for hours as representatives shared information and planned strategy. Commander Ryan Garcia attended via hologram from his ship, the UES Explorer. General Anderson, he said, his image flickering slightly. We've made a significant discovery. He sent data to the main screen. We've located the Concordat central world. The room fell silent. For thousands of years, the location of the Concordat's home planet had been their most guarded secret. Are you certain? Rebecca asked. Yes, General. We tracked their emergency supply ships after our last raid. They led us straight to it. Rebecca studied the data. This changes everything. We now have the option to strike at their heart. Zex, representing the Trilaxians, raised his four-fingered hand. But should we? Would destroying their homeworld make us no better than them? Ambassador Howard nodded. Zex raises an important point. We fight for freedom, not vengeance. After much debate, they reached a decision. They would offer the Concordat one chance for peace before launching any attack on their central world. In a quiet room away from the main hall, Dr. Daniels and Ambassador Howard drafted peace terms. The agreement would recognize the sovereignty of all species and establish a new galactic council where all members had equal voice. Do you think they'll accept? Howard asked. Daniels sighed. Their psychology suggests they'll see acceptance as defeat, but we must try. 2 days later, Captain Nicole Freeman led a diplomatic mission to the edge of Concordat space. Her ship, bearing the white flag of truce that humans had used for centuries, approached the border patrol. This is Captain Nicole Freeman of the Alliance vessel Harmony, she broadcast. We come with a peace proposal for the Concordat High Council. After tense waiting, they received clearance to approach a Concordat station. Nicole and her team, including representatives from 5 Alliance species, presented the peace terms to a Concordat official. The official, a blue-skinned being like Sarbuk, read the document with widening eyes. These terms would dismantle the entire Concordat structure, he said. Thousands of years of order, replaced by equality? Each species would govern itself, Nicole explained. No more masters, no more servants, just allies. The official's expression hardened. I will convey this to the High Council, but do not expect a favorable response. 3 days later, the answer came. The Concordat High Council appeared on a broadcast of every Alliance world. Their leader, tall and imposing with deep blue skin, spoke with cold anger. We have received your insulting proposal, he said. The cosmic order cannot be overturned by primitives. The Concordat has maintained galactic stability for 50,000 years. We will not surrender to chaos. The message ended with a final declaration. Prepare for the full might of the Concordat. Your rebellion ends now. Back on Earth, General Anderson gathered her commanders. We offered peace. They chose war. She looked at the star map showing the location of the Concordat Central World. Prepare the fleet. It's time to end this. The Alliance fleet emerged from FTL travel near the Concordat Central World. 500 ships from 30 different species, the largest fleet ever assembled in the galaxy's history. At its center flew the UES Defiance, with Admiral Daniel Powell in command. All ships report ready, Admiral, said Commander Garcia. Daniel nodded, his face solemn. This was the moment that would decide the fate of countless worlds. Open a channel to all Alliance vessels, he ordered. When the connection was made, Daniel spoke clearly and calmly. This is Admiral Powell. Today we fight not just for Earth, but for every species that deserves to live free. We offered peace. They refused. Now we must show them that the age of the Concordat is over. The Concordat had prepared for their coming. A defensive line of 300 ships surrounded the Central World. Behind them, orbital platforms bristled with weapons. They're hailing us, Garcia reported. The screen showed the Concordat High Counselor. This is your final chance to surrender, humans. You have brought disorder to a galaxy that knew peace for 50,000 years. A peace built on the subjugation of others is no peace at all, Daniel replied. Stand down your forces. We have no desire to destroy you, only to end your dominion over others. The High Counselor smiled coldly. Then witness the price of your defiance. He turned to someone off-screen. Activate the Sunbreaker. On the tactical display, a massive structure on the far side of the planet began to glow. Energy readings spiked dramatically. What is that? Daniel demanded. Dr. Martinez, who had insisted on joining this final mission, looked at her instruments with horror. It's some kind of superweapon. The energy output it could destroy an entire star system. All ships, prepare for. Daniel began, but was interrupted by Colonel Samantha Kelly's voice on the comm. Admiral, we're in position. While the main fleet had drawn the Concordat's attention, Kelly and Major Alicia Washington had led a small team to the surface of the Central World. Their mission: disable the weapon from the ground. In the Weapon Control Center, Kelly and Washington fought their way past guards. Peter Morris worked frantically at the alien console. How much time do we have? Kelly asked, firing her weapon at approaching Concordat soldiers. Minutes, maybe less, Peter replied. The weapon's charging sequence is almost complete. Alicia placed explosive charges at key points while Peter typed commands into his tablet, connected to the Concordat systems. I can't shut it down, he said, but I can do something better. He smiled grimly. I can turn off their shields. In space, the Concordat fleet moved to protect the weapon. The Sunbreaker glowed brighter, nearly ready to fire. Colonel Kelly reports they've uploaded the virus. Garcia told Admiral Powell. Concordat planetary shields are dropping. Now, all ships, execute Operation Thunderclap, Powell ordered. Across the Alliance fleet, ships launched Dr. Martinez's special devices. They streaked toward the Concordat vessels and detonated, not with explosions, but with pulses of energy that washed over the enemy ships. Systems failed. Weapons went offline. Engines died. The Concordat fleet hung helpless in space. Ground team reports the weapon has been disabled, Garcia announced. They've taken control of the facility. Daniel nodded. Send in the boarding parties. I want their leaders captured, not killed. Hours later, in the Grand Hall of the Concordat High Council, Admiral Powell stood before the assembled counselors. Colonel Kelly and Major Washington flanked him, weapons ready but not aimed. The war is over, Daniel told them. Your fleet is disabled. Your weapon is under our control. You have lost. The High Counselor, his arrogance gone, stared in disbelief. How? We were the most advanced civilization in the galaxy. Technology isn't everything, Daniel replied. You forgot what it means to struggle, to adapt, to fight for survival. Humanity never forgot. Under the watch of Alliance Marines, the Concordat Supreme Council signed the document of unconditional surrender. News of the victory spread across the galaxy. On 1,000 worlds, beings of all shapes and sizes celebrated their newfound freedom. 1 month later, representatives from all known species gathered to form a new galactic council. Unlike the Concordat, this body would have no masters and no servants. All would have equal voice. As Admiral Powell watched the proceedings, Dr. Daniels joined him. What do you think the history books will say about us? William asked. Daniel smiled. They'll say that when humanity chose war, the universe trembled. But when we chose peace, the universe flourished.